Okay, hi guys. Now I'll be doing the last part of this chapter, which is sketching of graphs for the quadratic equation. So let's do a quick recap. So your x-intercepts are known to be the points that crosses the x-axis. So this happens when y is equals to 0. Similarly, your y-intercepts are the points that crosses the y-axis, and this is happens when your x is equals to 0. And then you also have your minimum point for a quadratic graph, which happens to be where the line of symmetry lies as well. So it crosses the minimum point. Okay? Crosses the minimum point. Okay. So similarly, if you see, this is for a graph where the coefficient, because it's y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c, right? So this is for the graph where your x square, your a is positive, which is why it's a smiley face graph. Remember, note that for a graph, for example, y equals to x square, right? Okay, let me draw in pencil. When it's y equals to x square, it looks like this, okay? And then when it's y equals to negative x square, it looks like this. Think of this as a frowning face. And then this is a smiley face because it's positive. Okay. Okay, but anyways, this is just a quick revision of uh, um your graphs. So now let's get on to sketching. So by the end of this lecture, you should be able to sketch these four different types of equations. So for example, you have x minus h, x minus k, and then the second one would be your same thing but just with a negative in front. Okay, same as your first one. So these are two similar types, and then these are another similar type. So the third one would be y equals to x minus k. Oh, there's supposed to be a square here. My bad. Yeah. Okay. And the last one will be same thing but with a negative sign. Okay. Now let's get on with it. Okay, now let's look at the first type of graph, which is x minus h, x minus k. Okay, so this is the most simple one. So for example, let's say we have this equation x minus 1, x minus 5. Okay, so in this case, your uh, x-intercepts happen when your y equals to 0, as covered earlier. Y equals to 0. So when you equate to 0, x minus 1, x minus 5 equals to 0, you will get x is equals to 1 or x is equals to 5. Okay, so this is basically your x-intercepts. Okay, you have 2 points already, so you know that the graph intercepts the x-axis as at two different points. And then next, you need to find your y-intercept. So your y-intercept happens when your x is equals to 0. So basically equate x is equals to 0 in the equation, and then you will get y is equals to 5. Okay, so now you have three coordinates. You have 1 comma 0, 5 comma 0, and 0 comma 5. Okay, you have 3 point of intersection with the axis, and you would need one more point, which is your line of symmetry. Okay, but let's draw the graph first, and then you can automatically see the line of symmetry. So you have y, x, and then you know it intersects here at 5, 1, and then 5. Okay, so it goes like this, Comes up like this, okay? Just note, uh, this kind of question, you just have to sketch. So remember that it doesn't have to be drawn to scale, okay? So you don't need a graph paper or ruler to measure or anything. Just hand drawn is perfectly fine. Just make sure you have all the important information. So in this case, you see, I have noted that it crosses the y-axis at point 0.5, crosses the x-axis at the point 1 and 5. You need to label all this. And then next, your equation of your graph, which is y equals to x minus 1, x minus 5. And the last part is your line of symmetry. So your line of symmetry would cross your minimum point, and given that it is symmetrical, it's basically half of this two distance. So it's 5 minus 1 divided by 2 uh, plus 1. So it basically happens when your x is equals to 3. Okay? So it's basically the middle of these 2 points. Alright? So yeah, that's one question for you all. Now let's move on to another question. Okay, similarly, if you have a very if you have a question that goes like exactly same as this, just that it is oh just just that it is y equals to minus x minus 1 x minus 5. Again, same thing. Everything is the same, just that your graph is now a frowning graph. Okay? So in this case, your x-intercept remains the same, is equals to 1 or 5. And then your y-intercept becomes minus 5. Okay? So if you draw the same thing again, y, always remember to label your axis. X goes something like this. So this is actually minus 5, 1, 5. Okay. Yeah, you can also do it alternatively like this. Like if you know the shape of the graph, you can draw first and then label, because it doesn't have to be according to scale. So just remember to note all the important points and you should get the full marks. And then this is x is equals to 3. Okay. And sometimes the question may ask you to find the minimum or maximum point as well. So since you have identified that it crosses this point, you can actually sub in x is equals to 3 into the equation. Then you get the y value. So you'll get minus 2 times minus 2. So that gives you 4. Okay. This is only if the question is asking you for it. Okay. So this covers the first two question types, question 1 and question 2. So you should be able to do after this. Now let's move on to the next two question types. Okay, now for your last question type, your equation is given in a form of y equals to x minus p square plus q. Okay. In this case, it's just a little different from what you have come across earlier. Just note that your okay, actually I'll draw it here. Your this point, your P and Q represents your minimum or maximum point. Okay? So in this case, since the coefficient of x square is a positive value, it would be a smiley face graph, okay? So always plan how your graph looks like so that it's easier for you to sketch. So since it's a smiley face graph, it would be a minimum point. So the coordinates for the minimum point in this case is just P comma Q. How I got P comma Q is I equate x minus P to 0, therefore x is equals to P, and then your your value, your Q value, you just take it as it is, okay? Remember, if it is, okay, wait, okay, I will keep it there. If let's say P happens to be a negative number, so if I get x plus 1 equals to 0, then your minimum point happens when x is equals to minus 1. And then similarly, if your q is a negative number, so let's say if q is equals to minus 3, then your minimum point is just minus 1 comma minus 3. So this equation basically looks like x plus 1 square minus 3. Okay? So this is the minimum point for this graph. Okay, so let's say we have another graph that you're told to sketch and the equation goes like, okay, let me draw a line first. Okay, the equation goes like this: x minus 1 square plus 4. Okay, so immediately you know it's a smiley face, minimum point with the coordinates 1 comma 4. Okay, so you should be able to identify all this. Then your next step is to find your x and y intercept. So your x-intercept happens when your y is equals to 0. So you just do it, you gotta do it manually. So when y is equals to 0, you get x minus 1 square plus 4. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake in this question. There should be a minus here, okay? But that does not affect your minimum point, so it remains the same. So you have x minus 1 square is equals to 4. X minus 1 is equals to 2 or minus 2. Therefore, x is equals to 3 or minus 1. So these are your x-intercept coordinates, which is 3 comma 0 or minus 1 comma 0. And then now your last part, okay, let me label it A, B, and then your last part is trying to identify your y-intercept. So your y-intercept happens when your x is equals to 0. So again, just substitute the value of x equals to 0, and then you'll get y equals to minus 1 square plus 4, which is basically equals to 3. Okay? So once you have all these values, you just have to sketch. Oh yeah, since there's a negative, it's actually a frowning graph, okay? It's not a smiley face graph. Okay, do take note, okay? And also remember this negative won't affect your minimum point. Given that your equation is given in this form, so you just need to look at what's inside the bracket and what is here. Okay, you don't need to, the negative won't affect your minimum point or maximum point. So again, since a frowning face, it's a maximum. Okay, it's a maximum point. Okay, so once you have this, I believe this step should be easy. Your y-intercept happens when it is 3. So should look something like this. This is equals to minus 1. This is equals to 3. Uh, this is also equals to 3. And then we have a line of symmetry. And this happens at 1 comma 4. X is equals to 1. Y. x, and then label the equation of your graph, which is y equals to negative x minus 1 square plus 4. That's it. So this is how you do some graph sketching, and then we'll do more practice during our lesson. So this marks the end for this chapter. Just know that sometimes the equations given may not be straightforward, so you may have to manipulate the equation to get it to this form. So sometimes you may have to use completing the square or factorizing to get it to this form. All right. With that, we're done with this chapter. Thank you for watching.